Welcome to tutorial number 1 for Adobe's CS6 Premiere Pro. Before opening the program at all, what you should be doing is creating a set of files, and today we're going to talk about file management. Now, in here, you're going to want to go to your hard drive or your flash drive or somewhere that you can save your items to. In this case, we're going to create a new folder, and we're going to name this File Management Tutorial. Within this file management tutorial, now we're naming it the project name, right? This is the file management tutorial, so we're going to click in here, and then we're going to create a new folder. This first folder that we're going to create, which makes sense to everyone, is going to be project files. We're going to create project files because within project files is where our Premiere project file is going to live, and Premiere will create new folders of its own, which will be nested within this project file folder. Now, outside of that folder, we're going to create an audio file or an audio folder. Within this folder, any audio that we capture or create throughout the making of our project will go in there. Now, this is different than soundtrack, which is going to be the next folder that we make. So soundtrack is where we put any kind of soundtrack audio, music clips that will go as an underlying tone or as anything else. Sound effects would go into audio, much with interviews and talking, and soundtrack would include mostly music. The next folder we're going to create is called footage. And within our footage folder, we will be saving all of our recorded footage, whether we captured it ourselves or we're using it from somewhere else. The next folder we're going to put in here is going to be called graphics and font. Now, the reason we keep a graphics and font folder is because at times you will be given a logo by a client or you want to put your own logo into it, and sometimes you'll also want to use fonts specific for that project. If you were to hand this file on this hard drive off to another person, they need to be able to make sure that they also have that font with them. So when you purchase a font to use in a video, you keep that in there. If it's a font that's normally embedded within your computer, you don't necessarily need to have an extra copy of it in your folder. The next one we're going to create is called stills. This is similar to graphics and font in that this is where you would keep any kind of still photography photos that you would be using in there, or slides should you be adding anything additional as well. The last folder that we're going to create is export or render. In this case, we're going to call it export. This is where your finished products will live. So once you've exported a video, you'll be able to find it in that folder there. If we leave this folder area and we come back into it, it will have reorganized into an alphabetical order. Now, the reason we keep all of these folders like this is because if you were to hand this off to somebody else, and let's say your soundtrack that you downloaded was still in your downloads folder, if you transfer this over to somebody else and they go to open that project file, you're going to see that they can't find that soundtrack because it's on your computer specifically and not on the hard drive that you're handing off to somebody else. So it's really important that we keep everything together. Now, the second reason we want to keep everything together like this is because if you change the name of this folder, or if you accidentally move stuff around within these folders, you can easily re-find them. But again, it's mostly just file management and making sure you know where everything is so that somebody else can also access it just as easily. Now, to open up your project, you're going to want to go down to Adobe Master Collection CS6, and you're going to scroll down to Premiere Pro and click. Once Premiere has loaded, it's going to ask you if you'd like to open up any of your recent projects, a new project, open a different project, or help. In this case, we're going to click on New Project, and we're going to find that folder that we just created. So we're going to go to Browse, and within Browse, we're actually going to go back out to our hard drive. You can click here, or you can go down to the side and find your hard drive if you were already in it. You can click here, and then go to your folder, which would be the project title that you're working on. And then you're going to open up that project files folder, and you're going to save it right in there. So hit Select Folder, and then you're going to rename your project. I highly suggest naming it something similar to the project folder that you're opening it with. I also like to add the date in there. I'm going to put in File Management Tutorial, and then I'm just going to put in 1018. And that tells me that if I have to create a new project file or if I need to update this one for a new version of Premiere, that I can always go back in and change it to the next set. We're going to hit OK. Then Premiere is going to open up the New Sequence panel, and in here you're going to want to match the footage that you've captured. So if you were shooting on a digital SLR, you'd want to capture 1080p, and if you're using 24 frames per second, 25 or 30, you can click on the one that correlates with the footage that you're using. If you're using a different style of camera that's not a digital SLR, say the RED camera for example, you can use this here, or if you were shooting on a mobile device, you can click here. For the demonstration that we're using here, we're going to stick with DSLR and go to 1080p 24. We're going to rename this with culling, as that's the first step in our process, and we're going to hit OK. That's it for tutorial number 1. Tutorial number 2 will be about opening up and using our projects. Thanks for watching.